Hello and welcome to another episode of So What Do You Actually Do? In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the job posting of a technical program manager. If you remember from Macy's episode right here, Macy gave an in-depth overview of that job and what you should expect and how it compares to a product manager. Really well put together video and would like for you to take a look at it. In today's episode though, I will talk about how to tackle a job posting that is related to that job and how can you understand if this is something similar to what Macy has mentioned in her video. If this is something that is for you, please stick around till the end. So, on LinkedIn, I went ahead and I just typed technical program manager. And there was a listing of a lot of different jobs that came about. A lot of them can be confused by program manager or project manager. So it's very important that you look for what you want. I decided to go on the Amazon Web Services, AWS job posting of a technical program manager for the data center engineering. At first glance, I thought this is something related to the data center or the data department in general. But after reading the job posting, it's actually very interesting. This is related to specifically the data centers, the buildings that are hosting all the computers of the cloud. So all the information of the cloud is stored in those gigantic data centers that take up normally a huge amount of real estate. And this technical program manager will dwell on how to create the systems, the procedures of maintaining those buildings purely for Amazon. So it's very interesting and it's a niche technical program manager job. So we'll jump into the job itself. One, it was reposted a day ago, so I'm not sure exactly when it was posted, but definitely it seems like they are actively looking for people. And we'll go into the description. So I will summarize that first portion that's not shaded. And it basically talks about how this person is going to deal with the data center maintenance and tooling team on a global scale, not just in the United States, on a global scale. And the team aims to standardize operations globally by delivering tools, policy, processes, and procedures to our internal teams. If you remember from the video with Macy, a technical program manager is someone who has a technical background that can converse with engineers and converse with the program manager if there is any, or directly to the client. In this case, this is an internal solution within AWS. So the client and the consultant or the person doing the job is going to be internally within Amazon. But nonetheless, it requires an understanding of what the engineers are looking to do with the data centers and how the stakeholders within the different internal teams of Amazon will need to deal with maintaining the buildings. So they did mention tools, policy, processes, and procedures. So you're going to have to deliver on all these different categories between the engineers and the stakeholders. They mentioned that you will be a highly visible leader that will own the communication, coordination, and execution of a multi-year program vision. Also very important from what we discussed with Macy, someone who does a technical program managerial role needs to understand the engineering piece of the project. And normally they hire someone with that title, technical program manager, as opposed to a project manager, because you tend to come from this background, and you should be able to clearly communicate the needs to someone who does not understand or does not come from this background. Hence why you will be in a highly visible position within the company to describe how you're going to be taking care of the data centers for Amazon. What are the things that you're going to have to be doing? So they mentioned this also very clearly here. I'll talk about the mission first. Our mission is to provide critical data to operators and engineers that enables them to make informed decisions for maintenance of data center facilities. So that is the mission, that you create the procedure, the processes, the policies for the engineers and the operators in order to enable them to make decisions for the maintenance of data centers facilities. It's a new thing that's coming about in the whole world. A lot of companies are building data centers for their cloud, but there needs to be a universal way of maintaining such buildings, and Amazon is trying to have someone take and spearhead this on a global scale. So you'll be dealing with engineers and operators for those buildings in order to understand what needs to be done. Our team of TPMs work with senior product engineers and leaders to define strategy and requirements. So you'll work on the strategy and the requirements. Managing numerous complex systems and organizations, they are expected to make appropriate trade-offs between business versus technical constraints, clearly communicate goals, roles, and responsibilities. They also identify opportunities to converge overlapping technical efforts and drive the long-term strategy. This might seem like a lot of verbiage, but really what it's trying to tell you here in a nutshell is you're going to have to understand what have we done in the past in running data centers from our engineers and our operation managers, to then take the best practices from what we've learned thus far, create this policy procedure requirement booklet or set of instructions to then be passed on to every data center owned by AWS globally. That is in a nutshell. Now, how can you achieve that? There's going to be communication back and forth to understand how to get there and what are the different phases of achieving this maintenance of such data centers. It could be that they have different categories of such maintenance requirements, that may be something pertaining to the equipment itself and what is the cadence of taking care of it, what is the cadence of the floor and the temperature of the building, and the personnel, what are the needs of the personnel going in, what are they looking for. So there are probably a lot of strings attached to such data centers, hence why you need to have that understanding of what the engineers and operation managers tell you to then create such policy for AWS globally. I will then jump into what is a successful candidate able to do. You will manage operational relationships with support teams and internal operation business partners to drive increased performance. So if you've never worked in an industrial setting or in a consultant-like setting, this is going to be an interesting job. But if you have, it's going to be very similar. You're going to talk to the SMEs, the subject matter experts. In this case, it's the operational managers or operational teams that run such buildings. So you need to understand their lingo. You need to understand what they're talking about to then transfer that to people that are going to take on those jobs in the future, and they're going to be new to becoming operational managers of data centers. So you're going to basically create that booklet that's going to be passed on to someone who's never run that before, but needs to understand those terminologies and processes coming directly from what you have understood from current state into what the future is going to look like. I will take a couple bulletin points from the bottom of the list here. You will lead the effective and efficient delivery of large, complex technical projects and programs. Again, it depends on the scope and what AWS is looking for. Anticipate bottlenecks, provide escalation management, anticipate and make trade-offs, and balance business needs with technical constraints. So like I mentioned from Macy's video, she does mention how she needs to have an understanding of both the technical piece and the business piece in order to make such trade-offs, to understand, is this really necessary? Is that good for the business holistically? Are we doing this the right way? And she could probably take this on to other groups to better understand the root cause of why we do such things, because what she's going to do has to be sustainable for this program within the company globally. Identify, assess, track, and mitigate issues and risks at multiple levels. And last couple here is create, maintain, and disseminate program information to stakeholders. Again, very important piece of the information of displaying information to stakeholders. And because this is a global type of application that they're trying to do, there's probably, like they mentioned here at the very bottom, travel up to 25%. So you might be traveling to different data centers to talk to different engineers across the world. I will skip this piece. AWS is on the more like well-known type of companies, so they're on the big tech type of thing. So most people will know what AWS. I'll leave this screen for a second for you to pause the video and read about AWS and what are the things that they do. I did want to go into the qualifications. So they're looking for someone who is doing 3+ years of technical product or program management experience. Again, product piece is always mentioned with a technical program manager, because in Macy's video, she does describe the difference between the two. They eventually get, they reach a common point, but how do they get there is a little bit different. And some companies appreciate having someone from either background, and some companies are very specific. They want you from that specific background, either product or program manager. 2+ years of analytical, quantitative communication and presentation experience. So you're gonna probably have to run numbers, see if they make sense. 3+ years of project management disciplines, including scope, schedule, budget, quality, along with the risk. So this is very typical of like a PM, a normal PM role, but it's going to be wrapped into this technical program manager, and trying to kind of lay out the future for the maintenance of data centers. The last one there is experience managing programs across cross-functional teams, building processes and coordinating release schedules. So this is what I talk about. Most PMs that are watching this video will understand there are phases to the project. The scope can be done in different ways. There's the long lead items, and then you have short wins. So you're going to have experience with such things in order to achieve the goals of the project. They have preferred qualifications. There are 2 of them. 3+ years of working directly with engineers, teams experience. This is if you come from a technical program manager type of environment, and you've done that for some time, you have already done this in the job by itself, dealing with engineers or SMEs or subject matter experts in a technical role, and kind of translating that into a project. The second one here is Six Sigma Lean or a PMP certification. So really, if you get those 2, you're like an amazing candidate. If you don't have those, you're still an amazing candidate, but you're gonna have to kind of learn how to get those things within the role. So they kind of they're looking in a preferred scope for someone who already has them, but you can prove yourself in the interview process by talking about how you're anticipating such things and you are excited to do such things, and how do you want to work towards achieving them. So this is from Amazon. I don't think they mention the salary anywhere on the job posting, but if you're interested as to how much the technical program manager makes at Microsoft, please check Macy's video right below. Again, she talks about the salary in the video. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any job postings you're interested for us to make on this channel, please also make the comment down below, and we'll gladly make it. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.